Hello troopers, today I'm making another video. This is my second take on my thoughts on the Elden DLC. So I just wanted to make another video. I'm not even gonna upload the first one probably because I wanted a more cohesive and a shorter video with my thoughts on this DLC. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts on the DLC. If you haven't played it, you shouldn't be watching this video because I'm gonna go over everything. So just heads up, spoiler warning. The first thing I wanted to talk about is the world in this DLC. So this is the map with probably all the graces I have. This is how it looks. See, this map, one of its problem is there is a lot of nothingness. And what I mean is, if you go on this area, there is literally nothing in here. It's just an annoying type of enemy. This whole abyssal wood, there's nothing. Here, nothing. Even here, I mean, there's one enemy here, but it's not that relevant. It's like, I guess you can call them a boss. And even here in the shaman village, I think it's around here. I think it's around, no, it's actually here, yeah, it's this one. There's nothing in here. This place, it's nothing, it's just this guy's quest. So yeah, this is what I mean. There's a lot of nothingness in this map, and this wasn't really the case on the main game. Wherever you went, you would find enemies. That you would rarely go to a spot and not find anything. And I know what a lot of people might say, like in terms of lore, it doesn't make sense to have people in the shaman village or in here or in here or in the abyssal woods. But when there's like 4 or 5 sections of the map that have nothing in them, that sounds lazy to me. That you're just using an excuse of, oh, it's because of the story. That's why we don't have enemies here. So that's one of my first problems on the DLC. Guess my critique of it. It's still an amazing DLC, by the way. I don't even need to say that. Second of all, this fucking place. I need to talk a lot about this place because it's probably the biggest land of nothingness I've seen. And the two main problems are it has one of the worst enemy designs, and you know which one I'm talking about, the ones that you can hit but you have to parry them. They're annoying and they follow you to eternity, so you just have to hide. It was a nice change of pace, I guess, but other than that, it was annoying. And the fact that you can't use your horse. Again, I get it in terms of story, it builds into the atmosphere. I just wish that after, maybe if you killed one enemy, you can start using your horse or something, or maybe you should have put a boss in here. And I'm not talking about this one. This one's like at the end of it, and it looks even like its own section, you know. Talking about Midra, but here, I wish there was like a boss. If you beat them, you beat the boss, then you can start using your horse. And there's one when you come out of the catacomb, but that's just leading you into this area actually. Another thing is exploring. Exploring here on this DLC is just not that rewarding. You don't get many good things, you just get smithing stones. Like at this point, I don't need smithing stone. If you give you every smithing stone I should be grabbing should be Sombra smithing stone or ancient Sombra smithing stone or ancient smithing stone, because those are the only ones that I need, not normal ones. Normal ones I can just buy from the round table now. We're at end game. So that's one problem. And not just the smithing stones. There's, because of a lot of nothingness, there's also areas where you just don't find a boss in. Like here you would think, you know, here there was a boss down here, but here there's nothing, there's no boss. No boss. You might find bosses, but a lot of them are repetitive, which I'm gonna talk about. But there's a lot of areas with nothing and no bosses. So then we move on to the next problem I have, the next main problem I have. So we talked about the world, now we're gonna talk about the bosses. Uh, First problem is there are a lot of repetitive bosses, and some of them are repetitive from the main game, like Tree Sentinel or Dragons. Oh my god, they should call this DLC Realm of the Dragons, because the amount of dragons you find on this DLC, and about all of them, there is this whole area, it's just full of dragons, and I can I can forgive the last one because he's unique, he's very unique. But the ones leading into him, you already fought them before. There's a lot of Ghost Flame dragons, there are a lot of dragons in here, so a lot of repetitiveness. And why do I bring this up? Because I know a lot of people might say, well, you don't have to fight them, they're just side bosses. Like, a lot of them are side bosses, you can just skip them. Here's the thing, guys, if you're gonna tell me that this DLC is 40 hours long, and then at the same time tell me, oh, you can skip these bosses, then that means that I just have to fight the three main bosses, and the three main bosses, that's like, I don't know, 5 hours of gameplay. So I'm not gonna explore, because this DLC encourages you to explore, to collect items that boost your abilities. That's why people that criticizing the DLC saying that it is too easy or too difficult, that's because of you. That's because if you're not exploring, you should be exploring. That's the whole point of Elden and why it's an open world. But if you're gonna say that it's 40 hours long and then you're gonna tell me, oh, that's because there's a lot of repetitive bosses, you can just skip them. No, they're part of the 40 hours. They're part of the experience. So of course I'm not gonna skip them, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna criticize them. Of course I am going to, because it's I think it's a valid criticism. Uh, Also, there is even from the DLC, there's a lot of bosses from the DLC. Like the Dancing Dragon, you actually fight him twice. One here and then one like around here actually. And there's just a lot of other ones I can't really think of right now, top of my head. But that's the main one, because I thought that one was gonna be a unique main boss, but it was cool. But at the same time, you're like, oh, on top of the a lot of repetitive bosses from the main game, I don't know about that. Not to mention there are just bad design bosses, like Commander Gus or whatever his name is. He's annoying and he's just badly designed. I beat him in like second, third try, and I didn't have fun. So I thought it was one of the bad design ones. Then we move on to another thing, which is the lack of cutscenes. I was shocked by the amount of lack of cutscenes. Like, there is a main boss that there are a lot of main bosses here that don't, not even main bosses, sorry, but like when I say main boss, I'm not referring to ones that you have to beat to finish the game, but there are like main bosses like Renala or the Hippo, which you don't have to beat to beat the game, but they're main bosses. They don't even have a cutscene when you enter the stage or when you beat them. I think there's like only three bosses that have cutscenes: Midra and Dancing Lion and Mesmer and the final boss. Gus doesn't have one. This tree here doesn't have one. Even Bale doesn't have one, which is shocking because he is one of the most fun ones. So a lot of lack of cutscenes was a bit surprising. Then we move on to the final boss. I'm gonna talk about the final boss. First of all, the final boss was Radan. Now we're gonna talk about why it's Radan, why it doesn't make sense that it's Radan, but his design was just bad, and a lot of people have had difficulty with him, and I don't usually mind the final boss being difficult because it's the final boss. And if you want to use summons or cheese him, by all means, do it, because I did it And the reason I did it because I went to the point where I was like, I want to move on to the next game. I was started to get into Neo and I was like, I want to stop playing Neo. I just want to be able to finish the DLC so I can, not go back to it and I can make this video finally. So that's what I did. I did cheese him, but one time I should have beat him, but whatever, that's beside the point. That's what this boss does to you though. It gets you to the point where you're not even enjoying the battle. I just want to get this one done, because his first phase is fine, besides maybe one slash attack that he has. His second phase is complete BS. And the starting jump, I don't know, meteor attack that he does, it's not like the first one where in the main game. It's not like it. It's different. It's not like this one where you fight him here, because it has no telegraph to it. He just boom, he just lands on you. And for the longest time when I'm fighting him, I didn't know even you could like dodge it. I thought you have to roll through it, but you can't even. Maybe you can, but it's gonna be hard. I was always trying to roll through it. I didn't know you can just walk away from it, but that's the final boss. Just badly designed. Second stage horrible. Your eyes are gonna fucking hate you because there's just a lot of flashing in the screen. Then we move on to the third main point, which is the story. Now, I get a lot of people who say you shouldn't come to Elden Ring looking for a story, and that I respect and I understand completely, because I also don't play Elden Ring for the story. I think the story is really weak, it's really bad. And I'm talking about the storytelling. You could say the lore is amazing, which is the story. If you want to count the story as in the lore, I would like to think that they're different, but if it is, then storytelling is terrible. There's practically non-storytelling. First of all, why Radan in the final boss? Why? It doesn't make any sense to have Radan as the final boss. It would have made more sense to have Melina, because she's Miquella's sister, or even have, I don't know, maybe Moog comes back, because they already involved him in the story by taking his body. But they put Radan. What? Why? And I know you're gonna say, well, there was actually a cutscene at the end, but of course they're gonna try to make a bit sense of it, but it still doesn't make any sense. And it was a weak cutscene as well. In the main story, there was no insinuation that Radan was gonna come back, because I'm gonna tell you, they didn't. They didn't have any plans for it. It would have made way more sense if it was Godwyn or just fight Miquella himself. I know he's more about like charm and charisma or whatever, but come on, like we've seen dumber things happen in this game. You could have made him at least, I don't know, take the powers of Morg and then try and make sense of it. It wouldn't make a sense anyways, but it would have made a lot more sense than Radan. Godwin would have been perfect, actually, in my opinion, because he's really mysterious and it's realm of shadow, and I think there's a lot of catacombs that insinuate something about Godwin, but I don't know, maybe they're saving it for Elden Ring 2. I doubt it, but it is what it is. I didn't think Radan was a good choice for the final boss. They purely did it because of hype, because they know Radan has the most hype between him and Miquella. But I think Radan had more hype than Miquella. I mean Milena. I said Miquella, I mean Milena during the base game. Then we move on to what I would say is a missed opportunity to not finish on the lore. This game has an amazing lore. I mean, huge lore. And I don't think Elden Ring 2 is an option. I don't think they're gonna do it. Maybe they do. I hope they do. I hope I'm wrong. Even if they didn't do it, you could have finished the story of this, like the Realm of Shadow. There's a lot of things that are not clear, and I know what I said about the story. It's weak, it is, but at least you could have put a good stomp on it, good ending, answer a lot of questions from the main game, which it didn't. It actually brought more questions into the main game. So that's one thing I didn't quite like. Like, you can make a Souls game with good story. Like, I haven't seen one with good story, but I have seen one with way better story than this one, to be honest. Lies of P, Neo, even Sekiro was better than this Elden Ring story. But in general, they're not. But that's for another video. Then the story, I would say the story doesn't care about its characters, and that's why I don't care about the characters. And I guess because the story doesn't care about their characters, I would also not care about the characters because I wish characters would get cutscenes, the NPCs. You don't even know where they're at. You have to look up a video. You can't tell me you didn't look up a video. And when the story and NPC quest lines are on YouTube instead of on the main game, that's a problem. A lot of people are like, well, you don't know anything about the story because you didn't look up on YouTube. Well, of course I'm not gonna look up on YouTube. The game should tell me about the story. I played Red Dead, I played Uncharted, I played Spider-Man, I played Batman. I didn't look up on YouTube. Maybe after I finished the game, yes, but I knew what was the story when I was playing. I didn't have to look it up on YouTube. I think that's just bad storytelling. You're making content creators tell the story for you. You should be doing that. That's what I mean by storytelling. This game has none of storytelling. And finally, two, I guess, things that I didn't really mind, but I'm just gonna go over them really quickly. You're not gonna be able to use a lot of weapons in this game. I just realized I was just on this map while I was talking about whatever. You're not gonna get a chance to use a lot of weapon in this game because, like I said, you don't get enough Sunburst Smithing Stone and a lot of weapons, or you get them at the end game. And I'm not a big fan of replaying. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, New Game Plus, I'm not really a big fan. I don't see the point of New Game Plus. But that's just me. That's why I left it at the end, because maybe I know a lot of people like to replay it. So this might be actually a good thing for them. It gives them a reason to replay. Then I want to talk about the online experience. Listen, I didn't play this game online, but for good reasons. This is one of the worst online experience ever. The fact that you can't even play with your friend without someone invading is just terrible. Just being able to invite your friend is a hustle. And I know someone is gonna say, that's how every Souls game is, you should just accept it, just keep going, or whatever, which is dumb instead of addressing the point. Yeah, be different. You can be different. It's good, it's fine to be different. It makes sense. Just because it is the way it is doesn't mean we can't criticize it. This game doesn't have a pause button, and people will defend it not having a pause button. When in reality, it does. It does have a pause button. You just have to do this. I think, no, actually not. There's like a way, this. Now the game is paused. So there is a pause button. It's just, instead of pressing option, let me give you this less convenient way of pausing the game. Oh, you're finding a boss, you just gotta do this real quickly. Wait. Okay, now you're good. What? Whatever. That's problem with Souls fans, I guess. They just can't accept that something is just, it doesn't make sense. We love the game as well. We can criticize it because we love it. I hope they make a Elden 2 where the storytelling is good and there's God forbid a pause button. Then yeah, going back to the point is, you're not going to be able to use a lot of weapons. I didn't have an issue with that. I like my weapons, honestly. I usually don't like switching weapons when I'm playing Souls game or Souls-like. I hate saying Souls-like, but whatever. Then finally, the price. No DLC should be this pricey. Yes, I know what you're going to say. Look at other games. They have way expensive prices and a lot less content. This DLC is it's like in its own game. I get all of that, yes, but we can still criticize it because you know what? No game should have a price like that. And yes, Elden is a lot less greedy than others, but that doesn't make them, like the good guys. They're still bad for pricing a DLC this expensive. It's just a lot worth it than doing it on another game, you know? So they're both terrible for doing that. It's just this one is a lot less terrible. That bird just made me jump, whatever. So yeah, that's my final point. And I guess that's all I got for this video. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.